Welcome back, everybody, to the My Cross is Grace podcast radio. I'm Joseph. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. It's a question and answer session where I'll answer some questions from people that are often asking about the faith, the priesthood, and yes, even the Vatican. So let's get started. Let's see, on the board we have, first question comes from Scott. Scott's in Boston. Why did you decide to become a priest? Okay, so let's see. Many priests say it's a call from God, often felt as a deep desire to serve. The journey usually involves years of study, prayer, and discernment, thinking about the big decision. It's less about choosing a career and more about responding to a vocation. That's the textbook answer, Scott. I believe really it's said a little bit differently. Different for everybody. Different things move different people for different reasons. So in my own case, I didn't even think it was a possibility at all. I was in the port of Wilmington, North Carolina, serving the Coast Guard at the time. And in the military, generally speaking, you have a great demand for chaplains. And there's a shortage of them, but still the work of the chaplain needs to be done. In particular, let's say burials at sea. And I was volunteering for that. When they don't have a chaplain, a junior officer would be detailed to the function, whatever that was. So burials at sea was something I figured I could be comfortable with and help the process, the procedure, the ceremony, that whole thing to carry out a dignified service for the person being recognized. In the course of doing so many of those, it was recognized by other people. And I got a call one time, one day from a bishop in Ohio, began asking me some questions, asked if I had ever considered this line of work, and I didn't think it was possible. And we went back and forth on what those possibilities were. And fast forward, a lot of things were possible. So if you have somebody, a young person, considering that line of work, I would say to that person not to limit their thinking to what they currently know from the parish that they're currently in. Because we tend to lock ourselves in a box by thinking that we know all there is to need to know about what it is we're talking about. And the truth of the matter is most people do not know all of what they think they know or need to know to study, address, and discover all of what's possible. There are so very many different ways to serve in this line of work, to get in, and what's allowed and what isn't. And it's really surprising. So much so that this video won't do it any justice by this answer or give it enough of time. But there are many possibilities for those who are interested, married or unmarried. It's a calling that needs a lot of help, and there's a lot of possibilities for those who are interested in serving. Thanks for that question, Scott. Let's see, we have Jennifer from Wyoming. Let's see, Jennifer is asking, why do Catholics pray to Mary and to the saints? Isn't that worship? Well, first of all, Jennifer, Catholics don't worship Mary or the saints. Worship is for God alone. We ask them to pray for us and pray with us, much like asking a friend to pray for you. It's called intercession, not worship. Jesus himself asked the apostles, his disciples, to pray with him often, and in the garden in particular. It's a beautiful thing, a sacramental of sorts, to be able to ask people to pray for you, and even their lives is something to model after. But that's a stereotypical diss toward the Catholic community. It's not Mary worship. It's understanding Mary's place in the biblical story. To understand, there's over 7 Marys in the Bible, but I know that the question relates more to the mother of Jesus, the Blessed Mother. And so I hope that answers your question a little bit better than you may have heard before. Let's see, we have on the board a question from Michael. Michael's from Chicago. Why is the Mass the same everywhere in the world? Hey, that's a great question. They're all good questions. I like this one because I can relate to it a little bit better. The Mass follows a universal structure so that no matter where you are, you're united in the same prayer. The readings, the prayers, the sacraments are consistent worldwide, which shows the unity of the Church worldwide. And when I said I could relate to it a little bit better, I was in Southeast Asia and I was attending a Mass. And if you're in another country and you don't speak the language of that country, it's even more interesting because word for word you don't know what they're saying, but you know exactly what they're doing. And it's a beautiful experience and to understand what's happening, just that you don't understand the language. Not a single word, but still you know what's happening and you're able to participate fully. Let's see, Sarah in Florida writes, what's the deal with confession? Why can't I just confess to God directly? Okay, Sarah, Catholics absolutely pray directly to God, but confession with a priest offers something unique. The assurance of forgiveness through Christ acting through the priest. We call that persona Christi. It's a sacramental and confession, that is, and healing. It's giving peace that many people don't find on their own. Okay, let's see. On the board we got a question from David. David's writing from Texas. Why does the Church have so many rules? Okay, David, I'm not sure what rules you're referring to, but the rules aren't as much about restriction, but that of guidance. Just like there's traffic laws to keep people safe on the roadways, the Church's teachings aim to keep us on a path toward God, freedom, and love. Not in a restrictive sense, but one basically out of love and guidance. I hope that answers your question, David. Let's see, we got Emily writing from California. Why does the Church allow only men to be priests? Well, there's a question of the day, so to speak, Emily. It's a popular question. And not that I'm going to advocate what I'm going to say next, but you know, you always hear the question come up all the time. How come women can't be priests? And you never hear the question the other way around. Why can't men be a nun? Right? Like I said, I'm not advocating for that. Because the Bible, among other things, shows a structure and a purpose for us all. We have different roles to play. And the Church teaches that it is following Christ's example. He chose men as apostles, but that doesn't mean that women are less valued. Women serve in vital leadership roles, religious life, and the Church itself couldn't really function without them. And just thinking out loud and speaking, I don't ever see female priests in my lifetime at all, and I don't even think it's an issue about this lifetime of ours. It's the following of Jesus's example doesn't allow for that in our faith group. What I want to add to that, though, is I want to call attention to parish life anywhere. You know, if you have, and this is a solid statistic, if you have 70% of any parish that is in the congregation that is female, that is 70% female attendance to men, that's an actual sign of a parish dying. It can't sustain itself. You have to have a better balance. And it's important to the young people coming up to hand on the traditions of the faith and of the practice of that faith. So it begs another question, well, why aren't men going? And there's probably a whole lot of discussion that could take place on that. And that could be the subject of another video. And there is actually more of that on different channels. I can't think of this platform. I can't think of which particular video that is as we speak. But Let's just take the example in church of music. A lot of songs are chosen, beautiful songs, and sung very beautifully, more often than not, by the women in attendance or that are in that group, the choir, let's just say, okay? And what I'm pointing out is that the notes of the songs are sung in a key that only a woman could sing well, very well, okay? So yes, they're beautiful songs, and it's not a question of the song, it's just an example where the man feels alienated just by that song because he may very much like to sing, but he knows he cannot carry that note. And that's just one small example. So I would look for ways in any parish life activity to find ways for men to participate more, whether it's reading from the lectern or participating some other way. We need more examples of men in leadership positions of trust, to show dignity to them as well, and respect, and to show and honor them in their function in the church, which for a long time, to some degree or another, has seemed to be absent. So much so that, when I was growing up, there were genuine altar boys for every Mass. Today we have, and it's allowed, altar boys and altar girls, although today they call it collectively altar servers. So it's an example of the same thing. It's not to discourage anybody's faith, but a lot of the traditions are being lost, and people who know about that begin to question everything, and how important is one thing if this isn't anymore, as the discussion goes. So that's a long answer to your question, but it's all relevant to the same, I believe. Okay, so let's see, we're looking for more questions on the board. His one is from Tom in New York. What does the Pope actually do day to day? I'm not laughing at your question, Tom. It's like, wouldn't it be cool to travel around with him? All right, well, the Pope is the spiritual leader of over 1 billion, with a B, Catholics worldwide, and he's the head of Vatican City. The Vatican is the smallest government in the world. They issue their own currency, they have their own passports. So you have two sides of the Catholic Church. You have the governmental side, which is known as the Holy See, S-E-E, the Holy See, that's the government side of the business. And you have the faith practice, Catholic worship, which would be the other side of the church, which most everybody easily understands and sees and participates in. His daily life would involve certainly prayer throughout the day, meetings with bishops and leaders from around the world and different church groups as well, writing and guiding the church through teachings and decisions. I jokingly say, and I've said in past videos, the Pope's got a secret. He's in Italy, okay, so you have a lot of Italian food. How do you eat spaghetti and meatballs in that outfit? I don't know, but I'm sure there's a protocol to keep them looking good, right? All right, let's see. We got Maria from Arizona. Maria writes, and she's asking, what's the Vatican really like inside? Wow. Maria, I hope you actually get a chance to see it. I did, and it's magnificent, really. Keep in mind now, it's a building, and it's only a building, all right? It's very ornate, it's incredibly beautiful, it's larger than you think, and it's amazing that something so long ago is still there today, as beautiful as ever. And it doesn't matter what your faith actually is. In fact, if you're taking a cruise excursion and the Vatican is one of your excursions that you could go to, regardless of your religion or faith group, it's a beautiful place to go and see, from the architecture to the ambiance of the place, the gardens, the museums. It's magnificent in so very many ways, and for people of faith, it's a way to get closer to your own faith. It puts you in the awareness of, which is a good thing by itself. So the Vatican is both a small independent country and the spiritual headquarters of the Catholic Church itself. Inside are offices, museums, and the Pope's residence. It's much more than just St. Peter's Basilica. It's a working city with centuries of history, and for anybody that does get a chance to go there, paying for a guide, an official guide to take you through, is a very worthy thing to do, and it's well worth the money. You'll get a great tour. Of course, there are free tours as well. I don't mean to promote one over the other, but I'm letting you know that that is an option, and you'll be amazed. Okay, let's see. All right, we got one from Kevin in Ohio. Why do Catholics fast or give things up for Lent? Well, Lent is about preparing our hearts for Easter. Fasting and prayer, giving up comforts help us to grow closer to God by reminding us what truly matters. It's about sacrifice and renewal. And so when it comes to the season of Lent, you'll hear Christians, Catholics in particular, they might ask each other, what are you giving up for Lent? Pizza, beer, TV, whatever, right? And you have to wonder sometimes, like somebody might not eat all that much pizza, so how much of a sacrifice is it to say I'm giving up pizza if you're not having it all the time anyway, you know? But for those who hadn't given proper thought to it, it's easy to say, well, I'm giving up this again, and maybe they'll fall into the practice of it for that season, giving up the pizza. And so I was thinking, like, you know, somewhere's along similar vein that way one time, a couple of years ago. And I thought, you know, instead of actually giving something up, I'm going to do something instead, which in a matter of speaking, I would give up time to pray the rosary. And that wasn't something I was doing before. In fact, I had to learn the rosary to know how to do it. So in that particular year, a few years ago, I took up the practice, and while I had only intended it for the season of Lent, it actually became a daily activity that I still continue to this day. And for those unfamiliar with the rosary, it's actually the New Testament on beads. So it's a wonderful meditation to learn and to get in the practice of, and it's a beautiful thing. So if you're not familiar with it, that might be something you want to Google, look up, and find out more about. All right, let's see, we got Lisa in Colorado. Lisa, I'm not sure what city you're writing from, but thanks for writing. What's some misconceptions about priests you'd like to clear up? Okay. Well, a common one is that priests are distant or unrelatable in the general sense, you know. In reality, though, they're regular people. They laugh, they struggle, they live everyday lives too, you know. They just dedicate those lives in a special way to serving God's people. Some people might speak and say, well, you know, how can somebody who's not married talk to me about my relationship and how to improve it and things like that? And I think a lot of what provokes the question of what do they know, or how could they know living the way they do, how do they know about my experience, assumes a lot that the person doesn't know. Think about it, okay? They are talking to people in every situation, every day, all the time, as a matter of their work. And so there's a lot of similarity, but not everything is the same. No person's situation is cookie cutter to the next, but there's a lot of wisdom and insight that they're gifted with to help. And the best answer when somebody's unsure of something is to say, hey, I'm not sure about that, but I'll look into it for you or with you and see what we can discover together if it will help. The priest in that sense is a mediator trying to do his best, and we're all fallen people, but at a minimum, people at best trying to do the best for God's service. All right, look at this. We got Megan from Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks for writing in, Megan. Let's see. We got, is it okay to make the sign of the cross in public? Wow, I like that. Okay, yes. It's acceptable and even encouraged, not only for Christians, but for Catholics in particular. to make the sign of the cross in public as a private act of faith and devotion, such as when praying before a meal in a restaurant. It serves as a powerful and public witness to your beliefs and can strengthen your faith through, though some may perceive it as a major public declaration. I've never seen anybody object to anybody doing it. But some reasons to make the sign of the cross in public. Think about these things. It's a witness to your faith. Making the sign of the cross, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, amen. Making the sign of the cross in public can be a strong testament to your Christian beliefs. It's a personal act of devotion. It's a way to remember and engage with God in your daily life, similar to how other Christians raise their hand in worship. Now, a way to strengthen your faith is confronting the fear of making the sign of the cross in public. It can help you to grow in faith and build a thicker skin against potential judgment. You know, you could be making the sign of the cross in a restaurant, and as you do, you're not even aware of how many other Catholics there may be in that restaurant who were not as strong in their faith to make that same sign of the cross. And while they seen you do it, execute it beautifully, is something that they simply wanted to do themselves, but didn't feel strong enough to do sitting in that restaurant with other people looking at them. So it's a way to connect with others. You know, in certain settings, like the workplace, it can be a way to identify and bond with other believers. You see it on the street, right? If there's an accident or a mishap, or somebody takes ill and somebody makes a sign of the cross, it's a demonstration of God's presence acting through that person in prayer at the moment. And how many other people may also be saying a prayer to themselves for the recovery or assistance of that person in need. But making the sign of the cross is letting it be known that there is that happening right there. So some things to consider is the intention. The outward act should be sincere, a sincere expression of your faith, not a thoughtless or meaningful or meaningless ritual, but certainly meaningful. It's a deliberate action, you know. Make it large and deliberate enough to show that you're mindfully engaged in what you're doing, rather than doing it quickly and sloppily. Okay, there's some people who, like they're embarrassed, but they feel strong enough to make it done and think that satisfies it, but it don't. Just make the sign of the cross, bow your head if you want to, and so you don't even know if anybody's looking at you at the time. But you'll be better off doing it, and you'll feel stronger, and your faith will be rewarded for it as well. All right. Well, those were, I don't even know how many questions that was, but it was only a few. And there were some great questions. I enjoyed fielding them a little bit. If you have more, feel free to leave them in the comments. Maybe we'll do another round of Q&A soon. It was fun doing it. And listen, thanks for tuning in. This is Joseph with the My Cross, His Grace podcast radio. God bless you all.